Hello and welcome. We're going to now go into part two of using the progress and decline tool. Our content is going to come from grade 10, unit 2, nationalism. And our objectives today, we're going to read and annotate a document to help us analyze the historical moment. So before we even dive into the tool, we're going to really look at a document first. We looked at the tool itself last video, and we're going to take a step back and actually do a step 0. And in this step 0, we're going to really look at an excerpt from a document by Dr. Trevor Getz on nationalism itself to gather this information. And the document could be found in grade 10, unit 2, lesson 17. And in the last video, I had given the excerpts, so in hopes that you have read them beforehand. The next thing I'm going to do is show you how I annotated the documents and walk you through my annotations. So for the first excerpt, I highlighted some things and I'll tell you how I did it. While I was going through, I know that I'm going to have to do some contextualization. So my goal was to try to figure out, well, what could help me build an understanding of the concept. So my context is going to be in purple, and then things that I feel were just important about nationalism, I put in green. So nationalism, the term itself, I highlighted here in purple, and then I noticed there's some key ideas and themes here that seem pretty important. So like romanticism, and the Enlightenment itself. And then I'm seeing that it happened during the 18th century, which is important to know. And then I also highlighted in green here the idea that like what nationalism is, that it's very specific to like the modern era, which is pretty important. And it actually reminds me of like modernity, which might be something I want to add actually also in my context. So this could also have been in purple as well. And then this is another thing that might be helpful for me to know what nationalism is that it begins with a group of people who are believed to share common history, language, and culture, no matter what their social or economic class. So in my annotated notes, I put that down that it looks like this so far, Dr. Getz is connecting nationalism to the concept of modernity. So that might be something for me to really consider. And that what nationalism is, it unites people who share a common history, language, and culture, regardless of social class. I think it's very good to always have a really good understanding of what's on the screen here. So it's good to know the definition of the idea. It's good to be able to connect it to another historical concept, but then also it's good for us to see other themes and then know our time period as well. On the next excerpt, I actually highlighted in green for things that really popped out about nationalism to me. And you might have highlighted other things that you thought really popped out to you. There's no one answer to anything that we do, as long as the evidence you find will help you with the concept of nationalism, that is great. So here I highlighted that really it looks like we see nationalism coming together as helping people with like new ideas and also even with new technology. So in my annotated notes there, I wrote that it looked like the rising educated and literate middle class who seem to be like very like knowledgeable, but just not with power, come together and share their new ideas, and they share this concept of nationalism, and that their new technologies too will help spread these new ideas. And then in this third slide, I highlighted as well. And then in my notes, I thought it was actually really important to note this, that ethnic nationalism helped unify communities, but that there was also a darker side that also would lead to persecution of minority groups such as the Jews and the Gypsies. And it also seemed there was a positive here where nationalism was used to throw off foreign rule, particularly uh, during decolonization after the Second World War. So I put that there too. I felt like this gave me a really good understanding of nationalism, in which I know I could tell, I could trace at least where its origins came from, what it was, the definition could be, and then also I have some examples of what nationalism could look like. So you may have different things on your annotation list, which is perfectly fine once again. But what we're going to do in the next video, we're going to use the evidence from our reading and even our knowledge of world history and nationalism, and we're going to actually start our analysis. We're going to start by contextualizing the historical moment. So contextualizing nationalism using step one, and then we're going to identify some changes and continuities that we know, have either prior knowledge of or we saw in the reading with step two. All right, I'll see you in the next video.